These are 6 hidden fees that are guaranteed to kill your profits. You know, I remember sitting down at my desk a few years ago, going through the numbers on my Airbnb properties and realizing something that made my stomach drop. I was making way less money than I thought. And the crazy part, it wasn't because of my nightly rates, my occupancy, or even my pricing strategy. It was because of 6 hidden fees that were absolutely destroying my profits. And I know for a fact that these same fees are probably crushing your profits right now too. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through each of these fees and show you exactly how to protect yourself against them. And stick around with me until the end, because number 6 is probably costing you more than all the others combined. But it's also the one that has the biggest opportunity for savings. I'm talking potentially tens of thousands of dollars each year that you could be saving with the right strategy. So let's dive right in with hidden fee number 1, your utility fees. Now, I know what you're thinking. James, utility fees aren't hidden. I see my bills every single month. But here's the thing, what most hosts don't realize is just how much money they're actually losing on utilities. And I learned this the hard way myself with my first property. I remember getting my first winter utility bill and literally doing a double take. It was over $900 for a 4-bedroom home. I thought there had to be a mistake, but there wasn't. And after talking with hundreds of other hosts in B&B Tribe, I realized this was actually incredibly common. Here's why this happens. Your guests are using 3 to 4 times more utilities than you'd expect. Why? Because they're in vacation mode. And let me tell you exactly what that means. First off, they're taking way longer showers. I mean, who doesn't love a nice long shower when they're on vacation? They're also cranking the AC or heat to whatever temperature they want. After all, they're not the one paying the bill. And they're gonna be using every single appliance like they're cooking for a small army. Trust me, I've seen the power usage data, but it gets even worse in extreme seasons. And this is something that catches almost every new host off guard. In summer, guests will often set the AC to 65 degrees and leave it running all day, even when they're not at the property. They want to come back to a nice cool house and they don't care what it costs you. In the winter, they'll crank the heat up to 75 degrees and get this, open the windows if they get too hot. Not to mention the cost of running amenities like a hot tub or a sauna. Here's exactly what you need to do to fix it. First, you absolutely need a smart thermostat. But here's the key. It can't just be any smart thermostat. You need one that lets you set automatic schedules and that has an away setting for when no one is in the home. I personally use the Nest Learning Thermostat and I program it to automatically adjust when guests leave the property. Nest can detect this automatically. I have it set to eco mode between check-in and check-out, and next, you need to switch all your bulbs to LEDs. Yes, it's an upfront cost, but let me show you the math on this. A typical Airbnb has about 30 light bulbs. At $10 per bulb, that's about $300 up front. But each LED bulb uses about 85% less energy than traditional bulbs. Over a year, this one change alone will save you around $400. And finally, ensure your home is well insulated. I know this can be a big expense, but if you've got floor to ceiling windows like I did, and they're letting out a huge amount of heat like an open door, then you'll definitely be saving money in the long run. In fact, I'm gonna share one of my favorite money saving tricks a bit later in the video when we talk about hidden fee number 4. But first, let's talk about hidden fee number 2, because this one really hurts. Hidden replacement fees, the silent profit killer. Here's what most new hosts do. They furnish their Airbnb, maybe spend $10,000 to $20,000 getting it all set up, and then they think, great, that's done. Now I can start making money. But there's something crucial that most hosts don't realize until it's too late. Your Airbnb has way more items that need maintaining and replacing than you could ever really imagine. And I mean way more. Let me break this down for you because this was a complete game changer for me when I first figured it out. Think about your living room for a second. You've got your couch and chairs that get more use in 1 month than most people's furniture gets in a year. You've got electronics that guests aren't always that careful with. Then there are all those decorative items that somehow keep disappearing or breaking. And don't even get me started on the throw pillows and throw blankets that need constant washing, or the area rugs that get stained way more often than you'd expect. Then you walk into the kitchen and it's the same story. We haven't even made it to the bedrooms yet. But here's what's really crazy. And I'm gonna share something in a minute that most hosts never even think about until it's too late. You actually need backups of almost everything. And I mean everything. Let me give you a perfect example of why this matters so much. Imagine it's 3 p.m. and your coffee maker just broke. You've got guests checking in at 4 p.m. What do? You can't run to the store, you don't have the time. You can't wait until morning, your guests are gonna want coffee when they wake up. And you definitely don't wanna tell them, sorry, the coffee maker's broken. This is where most hosts start losing serious money. They end up making emergency purchases at premium prices, or they get bad reviews and or end up refunding guests because things aren't working properly. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, James, how much can this really add up to? Well, let me share a quick story that really opened my eyes to this. About a year ago, one of our B&B tribe members did a complete inventory of everything in her 3-bedroom Airbnb. Want to guess how many individual items she found that needed regular maintenance or replacement? Over 700 items. 700. And here's the real kicker. When she calculated the annual replacement cost for everything, it came out to over $12,000. That's $1,000 per month just in replacement costs. But don't worry, I'm gonna show you exactly how to cut that number down dramatically. The first key is having a complete inventory system. I mean complete. Everything in your short-term rental property should be on this list. Now this might sound like a lot of work, but we've actually already built out our own kind of Sears catalog, if you will, for Airbnb hosts that's included in B&B Tribe. Our tribe members use this shopping catalog to save thousands each year on replacement costs. Then comes the really important part, knowing exactly which items need backups. This is crucial because having too many backups ties up your cash, but not having enough can lead to those expensive emergency purchases that I mentioned earlier. Here's my simple rule of thumb that saved me thousands in emergency replacement costs. If something gets used by guests every single day, or if it would cause a major issue when it breaks, or if it takes more than 24 hours to replace, you need a backup. This means things like coffee makers, hair dryers, and toasters absolutely need backups, but you can skip the backups on things like decorative items or extra kitchen gadgets that rarely get used. And here's a pro tip that saved me thousands over the years. When you're buying backup items, always get the exact same models as your primary items. This way, if something breaks, you can swap in the backup immediately and then replace the backup when it's more convenient, and more importantly, when you can find a good deal. Now, there's something else I need to share with you about replacement costs that completely changed the game for me. And this is something I learned the hard way after furnishing my first few properties. When I first started hosting, I did what most hosts do. I tried to save money by buying less expensive furniture and amenities. I figured, why spend $1,000 on a couch when I could get one for $400? Why buy commercial grade appliances when residential ones are half the price? Well, let me tell you exactly why that was one of the most expensive mistakes I ever made. That $400 couch, I had to replace it after just 8 months. The fabric started piling, the cushions lost their shape, and it just looked awful in my listing photos. Meanwhile, the $1,000 more kind of commercial grade, durable couch that I bought for another property, it's still going strong 3 years later and looks just like it did when it was new. This pattern kept repeating with literally everything in my properties. The residential coffee maker that needed replacing every 4 months versus the commercial one that's still running perfectly after 2 years. The cheap bed frames that started squeaking after 6 months versus the heavy duty ones that never cause any issues. And here's what I eventually realized. When you're buying furniture and amenities for an Airbnb, you're not furnishing a home. You're furnishing a commercial space that gets more use in 1 month than most homes get in a year. This is why durability has to be your #1 priority when choosing items for your Airbnb, especially items that get a lot of use and abuse like bed frames, mattresses, couches, etc. Yes, it means spending more up front, but you'll always come out ahead in the long run. Now, this next fee might not feel like it's costing you, but I can literally guarantee that it is, and probably way more than you think. Hidden time fees. The most expensive cost you're not calculating. You know what's crazy? Most hosts spend hours calculating their mortgage payments, their utility bills, their cleaning fees, but they completely forget to calculate the most expensive cost of all, their time. I learned this lesson about 2 years ago when I was managing my properties by myself. I thought I was doing great. The properties were profitable, I was getting 5-star reviews, and everything seemed to be running quite smoothly. But then I tried to go on vacation in another time zone for a week, and let me tell you, that sucked. Back then, my typical day would look like this. It would start first thing in the morning, I'd wake up, check my phone, and spent about 20 to 30 minutes responding to messages that had come in overnight. Questions about check-in procedures, parking instructions, local recommendations, you know how it goes. Then throughout the day, I'd get more messages. A guest couldn't figure out how to work the TV. Another guest wanted restaurant recommendations. Someone else couldn't find the extra toilet paper. Each message only took a few minutes to answer, but they kept coming all throughout the day. Next up, coordinating my cleaners. Every time a guest checked out, I'd need to confirm the cleaners were there and doing their job, make sure the cleaner could finish in time for the next guest that was checking in, and then deal with any issues they found during that turnover, like damages or missing items. And don't even get me started on maintenance issues. A clogged toilet at 10 p.m., that's an hour of my evening gone. Wi-Fi stopped working, there's another hour trying to troubleshoot it remotely or coordinate with the internet provider. And it wasn't until I tried to step away for a week that I finally realized I didn't have a business, I had a job. And let me tell you, I did not start investing to buy myself another job. I started investing to buy myself more time, not less. This realization completely changed how I approach my Airbnb business. And if you want to learn exactly how I cut my time investment down to less than 2 hours per week while actually increasing my profits, then make sure you join B&B Tribe at the link in the description down below. Inside, you'll get all of my training and all of my processes and every single tool I use to make sure that you can do the same and make sure that you can host without it sucking up a bunch of your time. These are the exact systems that allowed me to travel the world, which I now do for 7 months out of the year, spend more quality time with my friends and family, and take up fun new hobbies in all my extra time. I'm not kidding when I say that these systems were life-changing for me. And I truly believe that they can be just as impactful for you. So make sure you jump on board and jump into B&B Tribe at the link in the description down below. Now, this next hidden fee is something that catches almost every new host off guard. And I totally get why. When most people think about Airbnb profits, they're looking at their nightly rate, multiply it by their occupancy, and they think that's what they're going to make. But what they're completely overlooking is their hidden vacancy fees. Let me tell you about something that drives me absolutely crazy when I look at other Airbnb listings. I see properties that should be booked solid sitting empty for days or even weeks at a time. And it's not because there isn't any demand. It's because most hosts are making a few simple mistakes that are literally costing them thousands in bookings that should be theirs. I discovered this years ago when I was helping one of my first ever coaching clients analyze their property. She had a beautiful 3-bedroom house in a prime location, getting great reviews, but her occupancy was hovering around 50%. She thought that was just normal for her market. Well, we pulled up her competitive data for her area, and you know what we found? The top performing properties, similar to hers, were running at 80% occupancy. That 30% difference, that was free money that she was just washing down the drain. Now, I know what some of you are thinking, but James, won't I need to lower my prices to get those extra bookings? And that's exactly what I thought at first too. But here's what's crazy. When we dug into the data, we found that these higher occupancy properties were actually charging more per night than the lower occupancy ones. The difference wasn't in their pricing strategy, it was in their optimization strategy. Now, I'm not saying that's always the case. You might actually be overpricing your listing. That's definitely a possibility. But whether it comes down to listing optimization, marketing, or pricing, the bottom line is that most hosts are leaving thousands of dollars on the table every single year to this sneaky hidden expense. And the only thing worse than seeing an unexpected fee on an invoice is not seeing the fee and just having the money stolen away from you without you ever even noticing. So if you want to take the money that's yours, you've got to get serious about your occupancy. Speaking of money being stolen without you noticing, let's talk about hidden damage fees, the cost that you're choosing to eat. This one drives me absolutely nuts because it's so easy to fix, yet almost every host I talk to is making the same expensive mistake. Here's what typically happens. A guest checks out and your cleaner notices some damages. Maybe it's a stained couch cushion or a broken chair or some scuffed up walls. And what do most hosts do? They just absorb the cost because they think it's not worth the hassle of making a claim. And I was guilty of this myself too when I first started hosting. I remember thinking $50 or $60 of damage here and there just wasn't really worth pursuing. Then one day I actually sat down and added up all of these small damages from the past year. Want to know what I found? I'd eaten over $4,000 in costs that Airbnb would have happily covered for me. Now I know what you're thinking, but James, making claims is such a pain and Airbnb never approves them anyway, and I risk upsetting the guest. That's exactly what I used to think too. But the crazy thing is, when I actually started making claims the right way, Airbnb approved almost 90% of them. The secret? Document everything and claim everything over $50. Don't play judge and jury on what Airbnb might approve. If there's legitimate damages that cost more than $50 to fix, just make the claim. And let me be clear, I'm not talking about normal wear and tear. I'm talking about actual damage that shouldn't be happening and is ultimately the responsibility of the guest. Most hosts are literally choosing to throw away thousands of dollars each year by just not making these claims. And the worst part, they don't even realize that they're doing it. Think about it this way. If someone handed you a $50 bill every time you submitted a proper documentation for damages, would you do it? Because that's essentially what's happening. But as expensive as these unclaimed damages can be, they're absolutely nothing compared to the next hidden fee. In fact, this last one shocked me more than any other when I first discovered it: hidden tax fees. Here's what most hosts do wrong. They treat their Airbnb like a side hustle instead of what it really is, a legitimate real estate business. And because of this one mental mistake, they're missing out on literally tens of thousands of dollars in tax advantages. One of our tribe members came to us after doing his own taxes for his first year of hosting. He had 2 properties generating $80,000 in revenue, and he thought he was doing everything right. We had him sit down with a tax strategist who specialized in short-term rentals. Want to know what they found? He had missed over $22,000 in completely legitimate tax deductions. $22,000. I'm not making this up. Now, I know what you're thinking. Well, I already deducted my mortgage interest, my property expenses, and that's exactly what a lot of hosts think. But here's what's crazy. Those basic deductions are just scratching the surface of what you could be claiming. There's a whole world of advanced tax strategies available to Airbnb hosts that most tax preparers don't even know about. Why? Because most tax preparers are used to dealing with long-term rentals, not short-term rentals. And the rules are completely different. But let me be clear, I'm not talking about anything aggressive or risky. These are completely legitimate deductions that the IRS or the CRA explicitly allows. Most hosts just don't know they exist. And the worst part, the longer you wait to implement these strategies, the more money you're leaving on the table. Money that should be yours, but instead it's being handed over to the government unnecessarily. And by the way, that's exactly why we partnered up with short-term rental tax experts inside a B&B Tribe to show hosts everything they need to know about taxes from A to Z. Now, before I wrap up this video, I need to share something absolutely crucial about implementing everything we've covered today, because there's one mistake I see hosts make over and over again when trying to fix these hidden fees. They try to tackle everything at once, they get overwhelmed, and they end up fixing nothing. Don't let that happen to you. Inside a B&B Tribe, we'll show you a proven framework for tackling each and every single one of these hidden fees to make sure that you're not just earning a lot of money, you're actually keeping as much money as possible. We're gonna give you all the tools, training, and support that you need to make sure that your Airbnb and short-term rental portfolio is as profitable as possible. Joining costs just $49 a month, and you can cancel absolutely any time. There's no obligation. Not to mention, you're gonna save over $4,000 right off the bat just in all the discounts and perks that are included as part of B&B Tribe. Now, if you're interested, you can join at the link in the description down below. Make sure you hit the like button on this video and comment to let me know which of these hidden fees you're going to be tackling first. And lastly, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.